Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Hey, thanks for coming out. We don't often have a crowd this big that's happy in this room, so that does my heart well. But on behalf of the commissioners, I do want to welcome you. As a Board of County Commissioners, we really do view ourselves as caretakers of the county. So this has been very important to us. As caretakers of the legacy of the county, but we didn't do all this. So there's been a large committee of folks both within the county and from partner organizations across the county that have made today happen and are making many events throughout the year happen as well. So if you're a member of that committee, could you raise your hands and just let's give them a round of applause. So we do have a lot to celebrate over this year. We were founded 2 years before the state of Colorado actually became a state. This morning, Grant and Dallas and I had the opportunity to go up to the Capitol in Denver. We weren't there long enough to have to shower when we got back, but it's always kind of a dangerous drive when you go up there. But they did recognize the county and presented this certificate in front of the Senate today, and it reads, the state of Colorado, the Senate and House of Representatives, convened in the second regular session of the 74th General Assembly, hereby recognize and honor Elbert County. The Colorado General Assembly is proud to recognize the 150th anniversary of Elbert County's founding as an official subdivision within the then territory of Colorado. Predating our statehood, Elbert County has a rich agricultural heritage that thrives to this day. Lumber from its pine forests, grain from its farms, and cattle from its ranches brought prosperity to those that settled here. Generations have passed on their traditions and Western spirit to the more than 28,000 citizens that reside there today. The Colorado State Senate, with the Colorado State House of Representatives concurring therein, would like to congratulate and celebrate with Elbert County this, their sesquicentennial. Our 150th. On request of Senator Rod Pelton, who's Senate District 35 that represents our county, and Representative Rod Bockenfeld from House District 56, who represents us. Given this 13th day of February 2024 at the state capitol of Denver, Colorado, and it was signed by Steve Fenberg, President of the Senate, and Julie McCluskey, Speaker of the House of Representatives. So it was just very nice. And then afterwards they took us up and led us up a long staircase up into the dome, and from there you could actually see a little bit of Elbert County. So it was, and then it was a much shorter drive back than to try to get there at 9. But again, really just wanted to say thank you. Elbert County's definitely got a special place in my heart and always will. Haven't been here as long as many of you, but moved here just as our daughter was starting kindergarten. She went through school here in Elizabeth. She's off to college. Having served in the military and been all over the U.S. and the world, I couldn't have found a better place to settle down and raise our family. So you guys are special to me. This place is special to me. But I'm going to turn this over to Grant, who's been here considerably longer than I, but not as long as the county. So thanks.
Not as long as the county. I don't know if I'm going to see the 200th anniversary. I've lived in the county a long time. I used to live on Flintwood Road in Douglas County, and my property backed up and touched Elbert County. And about 35 years ago, my wife and I sold that property and bought 4,500, and was 280 acres. We bought 4,500 acres and 2 houses, a riding arena barn, and lots of other stuff out where we live now. So we've lived in the Elbert County for well over 30 years. I've spent 14 years on the Planning Commission. I spent 2 years in the Library Board, now 7 years doing this. So that does demonstrate I'm not very bright. But one of the things that I want to say, and with great sincerity, this is the best place I've ever lived. And I've lived in Canada twice. I've lived in Dallas, Texas twice. I've lived in North Africa once. and I've traveled all over the Mediterranean doing oil and gas business. This is where I want to be until the end. This is, the people here, I don't know how to say this without choking up, are the best people in the world. Thank you for putting up with me.
Just to echo what these two gentlemen have said, Elbert County is a great place full of great people. And we want to recognize one of them at this time. Ron, Rick, can you get Ron to come in here at least? Ron Hildebrand was one of our, Jacobson is one of our special people here in the county. Everybody see the bear right here? He made it. The bench that's out here, he made it. From time to time, little animals show up outside of here of the courthouse. Little rabbits or snowmen. They just appear overnight, but we're pretty suspicious of where they come from. So we just want to. Elbert County's full of people like this, of people that give. And so we want to say thank you for this, thank you for the bench, but also thank you for administering the food bank in the county, or the food bank, the wood bank, for those people that are in need to help have wood to warm their houses. Ron's put together a wood bank, and it helps many, many people across the county. And that's just an overview of the type of people in this county. But Ron, we just wanted to say thank you for all that you do. I guess I'm about the same in between these guys as far as length of time here. My family moved here from Nebraska. Okay. It's better than California. In 1982, I was 10 years old, and we didn't move here. We moved to Douglas County, just I-25 and County Line Road, a little subdivision there called Acres Green. Some of you may be familiar with it. There was nothing south of Acres Green at that time when we moved there. I like to play sports. We were in ball, and the Elbert community was not big enough. Elizabeth community was not big enough to have its own baseball. So they joined up with the Douglas County sports, and so there was always an Elizabeth team and mixed in with the Douglas County teams. And whenever we had to play an away game in Elizabeth at Casey Jones Park, it was like, pack your lunch, we're going to be gone for the day, it's going to take a while. But little did I know that later on we would be here. My parents moved here then from that location in Acres Green to Elbert County in 1992. I was off at college at the time. But in 2004, my wife and my kids moved back here to Elbert County. We've been here for, it'll be 20 years this fall that we've been here. And just to echo what these guys said, Elbert County is a unique place. It's special. For us to be here for 150 years, and then obviously we're all excited about where we live, but for those of us that have lived in other places and come back to where we're at, it holds something a little bit more special to us. The people, the willingness to help, the ideas of that we're self-reliant, but yet we're willing to give each other a helping hand when we need it, as Ron's proved. It's all part of the fabric of Elbert County that just knits us so tightly and so closely together and makes us unique, I think, in the state. And so as we look forward to celebrating the 150th throughout the year, we also are stewards, as Chris said. We're stewards, and we're wanting to set the foundation so that people in the county here that are 20, 30, 50 years from now, when most of us won't be, they'll have the same feeling about Elbert County as we do today. And that's what we want to leave as a legacy for Elbert County. And so that's our goal, and I think everybody can agree that that's something we can strive for and work together to get there. But history is always interesting. I love history, and you're going to have a tremendous presentation here from Joe from the Historical Society on the history of Elbert County. So Joe, come on up.
Thank you for that introduction. On behalf of the Elbert County Historical Society and Museum, and as a descendant of one of Elbert County's pioneering families, it's an honor to be a part of today's celebration. Now, over the years, there has been a fair amount written on the history of Elbert County, Colorado. And while most of these stories are accurate, There are some accounts that you just have to scratch your head and wonder where they came from. Today, though, I'll share one of the lesser-known tales. There's a story told where it seems Elbert, Elizabeth, and Kiowa, all within a 10-mile radius, wanted the county seat. Apparently, Elbert and Elizabeth were given the impression that Kiowa had given up the battle as a lost cause. And as the two towns continued to haggle for the honor, Kiowa had built a courthouse and was holding court before the other two knew what had happened. It makes for a good laugh, but it didn't actually happen that way. Colorado was admitted into the Union on August 1st, 1876, and 15 years prior to statehood, it had been a territory created by an act of Congress in February of 1861. For the first 13 years of the territory's existence, the area known today as Elbert County was in fact a portion of Douglas County, with a county seat at Frankstown. Douglas was one of the original 17 territorial counties, and it stretched all the way from its present western boundary east to the Kansas state line. The discovery of gold near present-day Denver in 1858 and 59 sparked the Colorado Gold Rush and brought thousands of gold seekers west in search of their fortunes. It's been estimated that as many as 40,000 wishful millionaires would ultimately go back to their homes in the East, broke, disillusioned, and victims of the Pikes Peak hoax. And yet, for those who stayed, the opportunity for wealth existed and was limited only by their own ambitions. There were those who saw the potential value in the heavily timbered creek valleys like the Weber brothers on Running Creek and P.P. Gomer on Kiowa Creek, who saw mills supplied lumber to the fledgling mining camps of Auraria and Denver City, and later provided wood ties to the Kansas Pacific Railway. Or in the rolling hills of native grass, ideal for raising cattle and sheep, like ranchman Alex Brazelton south of Elbert, or August Boyk out by Agate, William Liptrap outside of Simla, or sheepman and town promoter Duncan Matheson, or in the rich, fertile soils like the homesteader August Newman along the banks of Comanche Creek. Or lastly, the entrepreneurs who realized the opportunities for supplying a new and vast wilderness with the comforts of home. Men like Daniel Court and George Hames of the Court Hames Mercantile Company, who had stores in Elizabeth and Kiowa, or Russell Gates, who had established a merchant empire across Elbert, El Paso, and Lincoln counties, or his little-known clerk, J.C. Penney's, who would go on to build his own chain. Elbert County was established by an act of the Colorado Territorial Legislature in February of 1874 and was carved from Douglas County and a portion of the short-lived Greenwood County. Named after the territorial governor Samuel H. Elbert, the county's original boundaries were Douglas on the west, Arapahoe on the north, El Paso and Bent on the south, and the state of Kansas on the east. This new county encompassed a whopping 6,816 square miles, making it larger than the colonial states of Connecticut or Delaware and Rhode Island combined. And it would retain this shape until 1889. Kiowa, or Middle Kiowa as it was known then, was designated the temporary county seat. Remember that little detail. It's going to come up later. It's interesting to note that while Douglas County had been named after Stephen Douglas, a rival of Abraham Lincoln in the 1860 presidential election, Elbert County's namesake had been an acquaintance of Lincoln, serving as a Nebraska delegate, supporting him in his 1860 campaign. As a reward for his support, Lincoln named him Colorado Territorial Secretary in 1862. 3 years later, he married Josephine Evans, the daughter of disgraced Territorial John Evans, and the couple had one son, Johnny, born in 1868. However, both the baby and the mother died later that year. In 1873, Elbert was appointed governor of the territory by President Grant, but a bitter political feud removed him from office a year later. When Colorado became a state in 1876, he was encouraged to seek the governorship, but he refused. Rather, he accepted the nomination to the state Supreme Court, on which he served for nearly a decade and was Chief Justice for a time. Following the creation of the new county, the newly appointed Elbert County Commissioners met with their Douglas County cohorts to divide the common property. Douglas County received 9 chairs, 1 stove, one pair of handcuffs, and one set of shackles, while Elbert received the same number of chairs, a stove, and 3 pairs of handcuffs. The only safe was put up for auction, which Douglas County successfully secured for $400. There was no division of property with Greenwood County. By the springtime of 1874, frustrations were mounting on the delay in selecting a site for the Elbert County Courthouse. Not only in Middle Kiowa, but curiously across the Front Range, as evidenced by an editorial jab in the Golden Weekly Globe of April 11th, which declared, "Elbert County is like an old lady in the crowded church. She has a county seat, but nowhere to put it." Various enterprising property owners have made magnificent offers for land for county buildings, but the local government hasn't squatted yet. Ultimately, a 200-foot square on the north side of the stage road running through Middle Kiowa was accepted, and a one-room building from Judge Farion's ranch 2 miles north of town, was moved to the site, thus becoming the first courthouse. In the decades to follow, a new 2-room wood-frame courthouse would replace this building. During frontier times, designation as the county seat was not only an honor, but it practically guaranteed the survival of a town. Generally, whenever a new county was created by the legislature, the act establishing the said county would identify an already existing town by name as the new county center of government. And usually that town had easy access from all parts, east, west, north, and south. However, in Elbert County's case, the official act to establish the county clearly stated that the county seat was to temporarily be located at Middle Kiowa, as if the subject would be settled later. And that's exactly what was supposed to happen. As it turns out, the permanent location of the Elbert County seat was supposed to be voted on at the next general election, except it never occurred. It's unclear what the reasoning was, but it's possible that there were few viable locations at the time, and Middle Kiowa, with its origin as a stage stop, was the largest established settlement to resemble an actual town. Even so, the biggest strike against it was that it was 140 miles from the East County line. So anyone living on that side of the county and needing to take care of county business, like record a deed or obtain a marriage certificate, had at least a couple days' ride one way. By the late 1880s, several towns had begun to question Middle Kiowa's sovereignty. With the completion of the Denver and New Orleans Railroad along the west edge of the county in 1882, both the sleepy little community surrounding the Weber Brothers sawmill on Running Creek, recently named Elizabeth, and its whistle-stop neighbor, 13 miles down track, Elbert, vied for the title. Further east, Hugo, a shipping point on the Kansas Pacific Railroad, promoted themselves as a more central site. And there were even whispers that the new town of Burlington, 10 miles west of the Kansas state line, wanted the honor. In early October 1887, the county commissioners were presented a signed petition requesting a question be added to the November ballot, asking voters to decide on moving the county seat from Middle Kiowa to a more accessible location. With the election only 4 weeks away, the commissioners refused to accept the petition, claiming the petitioners hadn't followed state statute and the required deadlines that had already passed to make it on that year's ballot. The county seat question would have to wait until the 1888 election, but that fight never came. Later in the spring of 1889, the legislature carved original Elbert and a portion of Bent counties into 4 smaller ones: Elbert, Lincoln, Kit Carson, and Cheyenne. 2 of the contesting towns became county seats in their newly established counties: Burlington and Kit Carson, and Hugo in Lincoln, and Middle Kiowa remained Elbert's. Throughout the 1890s and into the new century, the Elbert and Elizabeth newspapers continued to suggest and even taunt their rival towns that their communities were more deserving than another. Occasionally, a petition would circulate asking the commissioners to put the county seat question up for a vote, and time again, the petitions would fail for one reason or another. By now, the old wooden courthouse, constructed decades earlier, was completely inadequate. County offices were crowded. There was no room to conduct business. One small vault held all the county records, and court was held in a large meeting hall across the street on the second floor of Riley's Mercantile. It was an open secret that something needed to be done. In the fall of 1905, it appeared as though the commissioners were ready to replace the aging structure with a building of brick and stone. But again, nothing happened. Over the next 5 years, the commissioners seemed to go back and forth on whether building a new courthouse would legitimize or jeopardize Middle Kiowa's designation as the county seat. At long last, the commissioners were ready to act in July of 1911. With the county debt-free, the time was finally right to build a suitable home for all the county offices, complete with a splendid courtroom and jail. However, just as soon as the announcement was made, calling for contractor bids, two wealthy stockmen from Agate and Matheson filed an injunction against the county and brought everything to a standstill. Their intent was to finally force a vote on the county seat question with the hope of bringing the honor home to their fellow citizens in the East. The district court judge in the case refused to grant the injunction, in part because Middle Kiowa had held the distinction without a serious test to its legality for the past 37 years. Nonetheless, a restraining order was issued allowing petitioners time to circulate a petition to try and move the county seat. Two separate petitions were filed, and in both instances, they lacked the required number of signers, showing plainly that a majority of the citizens were content with the county seat's location. Finally, construction could begin, and with that, the old wood frame county courthouse was relocated across town. The building of Elbert County's third courthouse began on July 1st, 1912, in the center of the courthouse square. Designed by Denver architect John J. Huddart, the square, two-story, red pressed brick structure with its Renaissance Revival design featured a low-hipped roof capped on wide cornices with quillons, accentuating the exterior corners, and the front entrance crowned with a pediment that was inscribed, Elbert County Courthouse. When it was finished almost 6 months later, it cost $23,580 and was completely modern and fireproof, with steam heat, gas lights, indoor plumbing, and drinking fountains on each floor. It was a far cry from its predecessor. The new building instantly became the pride of the county, and it was estimated that nearly 1,500 people attended the dedication of the new courthouse on November 28th. A barbecue feast of beef, bear, and mutton led the events of the day, and afterwards, the doors of the courthouse were thrown open to the public. Later that night, a dance was held in the courtroom and continued until sunup. And that is how the Elbert County seat question came to pass.
It's a tremendous history and proof that temporary government programs generally are not. So, kind of funny, it's when we bought the Bank of the West building up the street and the clerk and recorder's office moved up there, we found quite a bit of paperwork from a long time ago and had a chance to look through, but it said the cost of the courthouse eventually was $23,000. We found the original hand-typed request for proposal that began, the commissioners have no more than $10,000 to spend. And it was about 16 type pages that detailed everything, but obviously even 1912 things wound up costing more than you thought they would at the beginning. So, but with that, just fascinating history. It's good to know that we stayed here in Kiowa, middle, temporary or not. So, but what we would like to do is, a few weeks ago, the Elbert County Partnership, and if there's some board members here, if you could raise your hands. There they are. And a group of folks from around the county hosted their first annual, I'm not sure if it'll be annual or not, but it's definitely their first, Elbert County's Got Talent competition. And the focus of that was to determine a county song. It was tremendous evening for those that had the opportunity to attend. There is a lot of talent in this county, and I don't envy the judges that had to select, but Monty Gaddy, who's here today, was the last to perform, but was #1 in the hearts of the judges, and we had gone into this saying that we would proclaim the winning song as our county song. So Monty's here today to perform the song for us, and if you could up here, I'd appreciate it. And while he's grabbing his guitar, I'd like to read this proclamation. This is a proclamation designating the official song of Elbert County, Colorado. That's Why We're Here, music and lyrics by Monty Gaddy. So it begins, whereas Elbert County, Colorado, established on February 13th, 1874, within the territory of Colorado, having been formed from portions of Douglas and Bent County and extending from its current western border east to the state line of Kansas, and whereas Elbert County boasts a rich tapestry of history characterized by a proud legacy of farming, ranching, and lumber industries, which have shaped the landscape and culture of our community. And whereas music holds a profound significance in capturing the essence of a community, preserving its heritage, and fostering a sense of unity and pride amongst its residents. And whereas the song, That's Why We're Here, composed by Elbert County resident Monty Gaddy, encapsulates the values, aspirations, and collective identity of our county, serving as a poignant tribute to our shared history and the enduring spirit of our citizens. Now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of Elbert County, Colorado, does hereby proclaim the adoption of That's Why We're Here as the official county song in recognition of its proud resonance with our community's values and heritage. With its evocative melody and heartfelt lyrics, That's Why We're Here pays homage to the hardworking men and women who have tilled the soil, tended the herds, and harvested the forests of Elbert County, shaping its character and fostering its growth over generations. As we embrace this symbolic anthem, let us reflect on the indomitable spirit of our forebears, whose legacy continues to inspire and guide us. May That's Why We're Here serve as a source of unity, pride, and inspiration for all residents of Elbert County, reminding us of the bonds that unite us and the shared values that define our communities. Done this 13th day of February, 2024, at Middle Kiowa, Colorado, signed Chris Richardson, Commissioner, Dallas Roeder, Commissioner, and Grant Thayer, Commissioner. So with that, I turn your attention to Mr. Monty Gaddy.
Thank you very much. This is quite an honor to be here today. I really can't believe this happened. I mean, at the songwriting contest in Elizabeth, to everyone's amazement, including mine, they named my song as the first place winner. So they asked me to be here today to play it for you. And can you hear the guitar? But one thing I wanted to point out is, even though I wrote this song, it's not my song. This is our song. This is for everyone who is proud to call Elbert County home. And it's called, That's Why We're Here. Down here the pace isn't so hectic. We like taking things kind of slow. Our feathers aren't easily ruffled. We like to go with the flow. Usually when we go to Walmart, we run into someone we know. And folks around here are friendly. They're happy to say hello. We're home to some folks from the city. We're home young cowpokes of showing their steers. Fair queen rides in the arena. She's grinning from ear to ear. When they play the national anthem, everyone stands up and cheers. The county fair has just one drawback. It only comes one time a year. Well, we're home to some folks from the city. We're home to folks down on the farm. And those folks would never dream of doing nobody no harm. We seal our deals with a handshake, 'cause folks around here are sincere. We love living in Elbert County. That's why we're here. We love living in Elbert County. That's why we're here. Thank you very much.
Monty, thank you very much. That's fantastic. We do have a copy of the proclamation for you as well. So, but that's why we're here today. Thanks for coming out. I'd like to say there's a dance that'll go on till dawn, but it's not going to be happening here. So the building will be open for the next half hour. If you haven't had any cake, please do. Stay around, chat, visit, and again, thanks for coming out. This was a really good event, so thank you.